everyone, and welcome to this brand new episode of TV Talk, the Rapid Recap. I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to try to recap 12 seasons of Grey's Anatomy in 15 minutes or less. This hasn't been going well in the past, so we're gonna see how it goes. I think I'm ready, so timekeeper, teleprompter, let's get it started. Grey's Anatomy's first season begins when the main character, Meredith Grey, daughter of renowned surgeon Ellis Grey, has a one-night stand with a stranger. The next day, Meredith goes to Seattle Grace Hospital to begin her internship with fellow interns Christina Yang, Izzy Stevens, Georgia O'Malley, and Alex Karev. During her first day, Meredith realizes that her attending, Derek Shepard, aka McDreamy, is the man she has spent the previous night with. The interns of Seattle Grace also meet Chief Weber, the head of surgery, Dr. Preston Burke, a renowned cardiothoracic surgeon, and Miranda Bailey, the chief resident. Izzy and George move in with Meredith, and as she tries to juggle roommates, her job, and taking care of her Alzheimer's-stricken mother, she is also trying to avoid pursuing a relationship with Derek. Meanwhile, Christina is trying to fight her growing attraction to Dr. Burke. Meredith eventually agrees to go to dinner with Derek, and they kind of start to date, and after a party at Meredith's house, Dr. Bailey finds out about Meredith and Derek's affair. To satisfy Dr. Bailey, Derek begins to treat Meredith harshly as a means of showing that their personal relationship doesn't affect their work relationship. Meanwhile, while all of this has been going on, Christina and Burke finally get together, and George is trying to work up the courage to tell Meredith that he likes her. Unfortunately, George and Izzy catch Derek leaving Meredith's house and now know about Meredith and McDreamy. George and Izzy are mad that they are the last to know about Meredith's relationship, but find it hard to dislike McDreamy as he truly cares for Meredith. Meredith decides that she wants something more with Derek, but only if he shares details about his past. Christina also discovers that she is pregnant with Burke's baby. In the season finale, Meredith opens up to Derek and tells him about her mother's condition. However, Meredith is in for a surprise when Derek's wife, Addison Shepard, shows up at Seattle Grace, confronting Meredith about her affair with Derek. When season 2 picks up, Addison is requesting to work with Meredith, presumably to keep an eye on her, and Christina tells Meredith that she is pregnant. She doesn't disclose that Burke is the father and doesn't even tell Burke about the child, even after he breaks up with her. Everyone in the hospital learns of Meredith's mother's condition when Ellis comes to the hospital for treatment. Things seem to be looking up for the interns as Izzy and Alex grow closer, but Christina collapses in the ER and she loses the baby. Burke is both shocked and devastated to learn of the loss of his child. Christina doesn't want to take the time to recover and mourn her loss, so she dives back into her work, eventually breaking down. Alex and Izzy consider going out on a date, but when Alex becomes concerned when he fails one of his medical exams, their plans are derailed. Derek's life is complicated when Addison asks him to sign divorce papers, but he can't choose between Addison and Meredith. And when Derek eventually chooses to work on his relationship with Addison, Meredith is crushed. While all this is going on, Chief Weber is encouraging Dr. Bailey to pursue a prestigious fellowship, but she turns it down when she finds out that she is pregnant. When Thanksgiving comes around, Burke and Christina are still debating whether or not to make their recently revived relationship public, while Derek seems to show where his loyalties lie when he stands Addison up to help Meredith with a patient. Alex is continuing to pursue Izzy in a romantic way, but he frustrates her as he continues with both his womanizer ways and his incompetence as a doctor. Around mid-season, the real drama begins when we are introduced to Denny Duquette, a patient awaiting a heart transplant with who Izzy develops a serious connection. Dr. Bailey also goes into labor without her husband, who crashed his car on the way to the hospital. George helps Dr. Bailey through the birth, further solidifying his role as the kind and caring intern of Seattle Grace. Dr. Mark Sloan, a plastic surgeon known as McSteamy, who is a friend of Derek and Addison's, arrives at Seattle Grace to help with a patient, but McSteamy has ulterior motives. He wants to rekindle his relationship with Addison. George confesses his feelings to Meredith. They hook up and try to avoid each other afterwards. More romantic tension is introduced when Denny is readmitted to the hospital and Izzy grows even closer with him, making Alex extremely jealous. While trying to avoid Meredith, George injures himself and catches the eye of orthopedic resident Callie Torres. After Derek confesses to Addison that he is truly serious about making their relationship work, they make a more permanent living arrangement. Meanwhile, Denny is getting ready for his upcoming surgical procedure, and Alex makes some inappropriate comments to him, causing Izzy to end things with Alex and share a kiss with Denny after his surgery. George and Callie get together, and he finds out that Callie is living in the hospital. That's interesting. In the season finale, Burke and Alex go to try to get a new heart for Denny, and Izzy, worried that Denny will not receive priority, decides to cut his LVAD wire, putting Denny's life in extreme jeopardy. Callie tells George that she loves him, but before George can return the sentiment, He runs off to help Izzy keep Denny alive. Burke, in the process of getting Denny's heart, is unfortunately shot, and Derek must operate on Burke to save his arm and prevent nerve damage. While all of this has been going on, Addison has been treating Chief Weber's niece and finds out that the young girl's cancer has returned. Dr. Weber also admits to his wife that he had an affair with Ellis Gray, which creates distrust in their relationship. In the middle of all this craziness, Denny proposes to Izzy, and Dr. Bailey ensures that Denny will be at the top of the transplant list. Alex returns from Mercy West with Denny's heart and Dr. Hahn. Denny and Burke do make it through their respective procedures, but until someone admits to cutting Denny's LVAD wire, all of the interns must put on a prom for Dr. Weber's sick niece. Burke, recovering from surgery, discovers a tremor in his hand, an unwelcome complication for a surgeon. Izzy accepts Denny's marriage proposal, and all of the hospital staff dresses up for the prom. During prom, Meredith and Derek fight and end up reuniting, and Denny, waiting for Izzy to return from prom, suddenly experiences a blood clot. Izzy walks into Denny's hospital room and finds that he has died, and as Izzy lays with Denny, the rest of the interns rush in and find out what has happened. Izzy approaches Chief Weber and admits that she's the one that cut Denny's LVAD wire and that she will be quitting the intern program. As the season closes, Meredith is once again left to choose between Derek and the other man that she has been seeing. Season 3, oh my gosh, we're only there, begins with all of the interns helping Izzy cope with Denny's death. Addison finds out that Meredith and Derek reunited and that Derek is now actually forced to think about making a choice between Addison and Meredith. Chief Weber's wife offers him an ultimatum: choose between his work and his marriage. Burke's parents come to the hospital to meet Christina, but feel that she is too selfish and career-driven to be a good partner. Chief Weber finds out that Callie has been living in the hospital and kicks her out. Meanwhile, George begins to have suspicions that Callie is cheating on him, and Meredith, not wanting to make a decision, begins to date both Derek and Finn, the other man she had been seeing. Meredith experiences a medical scare when her appendix bursts, and under the influence of painkillers, she makes up with Addison and has realized that she can no longer be with Derek. After Meredith's surgery, she finally makes a decision, breaking up with Finn and fully committing to Derek, but she refuses to tell Derek this because that makes all the sense in the world. Burke is still experiencing side effects from his surgery, and he and Christina come up with a plan to mask his symptoms. She will scrub in on all of his surgeries and assist him. Izzy is making slow progress as she attempts to return after Denny's death and meets with Denny's father, who gives her over $8 million. Dr. Bailey faces repercussions due to what happened to Denny under her watch and becomes more vigilant, suspecting that something is up with Burke and Christina. Derek and Addison finalize their divorce, and during the finalization process, Derek learns that Addison's relationship with Mark Sloan lasted for longer than she let on. George's father comes to Seattle Grace with a heart condition, and George, unsure that Burke can handle the procedure, contacts Erica Hahn, a heart surgeon from Mercy West, and asks that she perform the surgery. George also doesn't want Callie to interact with his family, so he assures her that they are broken up. Christina starts to have second thoughts about her deception with Burke and tells Chief Weber, who then tells Burke that he will have to face consequences. Christina's betrayal puts a strain on her and Burke's relationship. After George's father undergoes his heart surgery, he has another risky surgery against George's wishes and ends up dying. After this, George and Callie reunite when he realizes that she was never unfaithful to him. Chief Weber announces that he is planning on retiring, and Addison, Sloan, Derek, and Burke begin to compete for his position. George ends up proposing to Callie, and Burke proposes to Christina. Bailey wants to open up a free clinic and is only supported by Izzy, who donates Denny's money to the project, and she and Bailey end up heading up the Denny Duquette Memorial Clinic. George and Callie return from Vegas and announce that they got married, just as Meredith's mother becomes lucid for a day and blames Derek for what she believes is mediocrity in Meredith's professional life. Reeling from that revelation, Meredith, at the scene of a ferry accident, falls into the water while working on a patient and almost dies. As her life hangs in the balance, her mother dies at Seattle Grace. Meredith sees her mother as they are both in an afterlife of sorts, and Ellis encourages Meredith to chase life, and Meredith is eventually revived. Izzy has an affair with George, even though he is still married to Callie. Callie becomes suspicious of George, who realizes that he must transfer to Mercy West to save his relationship with his wife. Throughout the season, Meredith, while struggling with her relationship with her father, Thatcher, has grown closer to her stepmother, Susan, but their progress is halted when Susan dies during emergency surgery, and Thatcher blames Meredith for Susan's death. The intern's exam day arrives, and Meredith has trouble focusing due to her family issues, but eventually pulls through. Chief Weber discovers that his wife is pregnant with his son, but she suffers a miscarriage. Derek feels as though he is the only one pulling weight in his relationship with Meredith, so they call things off. Derek declines the chief of surgery position, and Callie becomes chief resident. Christina doesn't devote her full attention to her wedding, causing Burke to have some doubts. All of the interns pass their exams except George. This season ends with Burke leaving Christina on their wedding day and Meredith cutting a sobbing Christina out of her wedding dress. Season 4 finds Burke gone from Seattle Grace, and Meredith, Christina, Alex, and Izzy all residents. George is repeating his intern year where he meets Meredith's unknown half-sister, Lexi Gray. George ends up becoming Chief Weber's special intern, keeping track of things all around the hospital, and Lexi tries to build a relationship with a reluctant Meredith. Dr. Bailey is struggling with trying to find her place in the hospital, since she no longer has her interns to manage and she doesn't have the chief resident position. However, when Callie begins to perform poorly as chief resident, it is handed over to a deserving Bailey. Bailey, feeling overwhelmed, then gives over complete control of the clinic to Izzy. Meredith and Derek enter a more casual phase of their relationship, but Meredith feels jealous when Derek begins to date a nurse named Rose. Meredith and Derek eventually come around and solidify their relationship for what feels like the umpteenth time. Christina hasn't pursued any relationships since still hurting from Burke's departure, but George and Izzy begin a serious relationship after he leaves Callie. However, George and Izzy have no chemistry and he ends up moving in with Lexi, who wants a romantic relationship unbeknownst to him. Chief Weber eventually gets back together with his wife as Bailey's marriage is struggling. Callie feels uncomfortable when Mark Sloan points out that she may have feelings for Erica Hahn, but finds that those feelings are real when she and Erica share a kiss. In Season 5, we are introduced to Dr. Owen Hunt as a deadly ice storm hits Seattle. He and Christina soon begin a romantic relationship. After Owen chokes Christina while having a PTSD nightmare about his tour in Iraq, prompting her to leave him, Owen decides to begin seeing a therapist. Touched that he is willing to work through his problems, Christina tries to help him in any way that she can. She eventually tells him that she loves him and they get back together. Bailey begins to explore the possibility of moving into pediatrics. After she is offered a position as an attending in general surgery, her husband Tucker gives her an ultimatum. He tells her that she either needs to take the attending position or that they will get a divorce. Bailey accepts the attending position but divorces Tucker anyway, saying that there can be no ultimatums in a marriage. Meanwhile, Callie's storyline revolves around her recently discovered bisexuality. She begins a relationship with the new pediatric surgeon, Arizona Robbins. However, Callie's father is outraged when he discovers the relationship and tells Callie that she needs to choose between Arizona and her trust fund. She chooses Arizona and begins to try to figure out how to live without her trust fund. Mark realizes that he wants to date Lexi, something Meredith does not want to happen. Mark and Lexi start seeing each other behind Meredith and Derek's backs until Lexi gets tired of hiding their relationship. She tells Mark that she won't date him anymore unless he tells Derek. Mark does so, which results in Derek punching him in the face. However, it makes Mark realize that Lexi is the one and asks her to move in with him. She refuses. Throughout the season, Izzy is beginning to have visions of Denny. Although Izzy knows that he is dead, she's able to see him, talk with him, and touch him. Eventually, she discovers that she has cancer and that is the reason she can see Denny. Izzy only tells Christina, who tries and fails to convince Izzy to receive treatment. When it becomes clear that Izzy will not get help, Christina tells everyone. Derek and Meredith become engaged, and Meredith has Izzy plan the wedding in order to give her something to do while Izzy goes through treatment. Eventually, they decide to give Izzy and Alex their wedding, as it is discovered that Izzy has another brain tumor. Derek and Meredith try to go to City Hall to get married, but they are too busy to do so. Instead, they write down their vows on Post-it notes and sign them, deciding that that is good enough for them. Izzy decides to undergo a risky surgery to remove her cancer and signs a do not resuscitate order. She comes out of the surgery fine but does not appear to have any short-term memory. Meanwhile, the rest of the doctors focus on a John Doe who jumped in front of a bus to save a woman's life. They discover that the John Doe is George, who dies immediately after. Izzy regains her memory after an argument with Alex but falls unconscious. The season ends with Izzy standing in an elevator, which opens to reveal George in his new military uniform. Season 6 opens with the reveal that Izzy survived her surgery. Everyone in the hospital is devastated by George's death, and they each deal with it in separate ways. This is made harder by the merging of Seattle Grace with Mercy West. New residents arrive, leading to increased competition for surgeries and new social dynamics. Teddy Altman, a cardiothoracic surgeon who is in the war with Owen, joins the hospital. At first, Christina loves having her, but then she realizes that Teddy and Owen have romantic feelings for each other. Part of the way through the season, Izzy disappears. Alex has no idea where she is and repeatedly tries to contact her. She returns a few episodes later saying that she's cancer-free and that she wants to get back together with Alex. However, Alex decides that he deserves better than Izzy and she leaves for good. Meredith realizes that Weber has an alcohol problem and tries to cover him. She tells Derek that he shouldn't tell anyone. While he initially agrees, Derek does eventually tell the board, leading to Weber being sent to a rehab facility, and Derek becomes the new chief. Derek hates the new arrangement as it doesn't allow him to perform surgeries. Arizona and Callie argue over whether or not they want to have kids. They break up when they can't resolve the issue. However, after a death scare, Callie tells Arizona that she can live without kids, but not without Arizona. Arizona tells Callie that she's willing to have kids with her. Meredith and Derek also talk about having kids. At the end of the season, Meredith finds out that she's pregnant. However, a shooter arrives at the hospital. His wife has died, and the shooter is intent on killing every one of her doctors. He shoots Reed and Alex, killing Reed. April discovers Reed's body and tells Derek. He calls the police, and the hospital goes into lockdown. The shooter then shoots Percy, but not Bailey, who claims to be a nurse. Bailey and her patient try to save Percy's life, but he dies. Mark and Lexi find Alex and attempt to save his life. Meanwhile, the shooter finds Derek and shoots him while Meredith and Christina watch. Meredith and Christina rush Derek to the OR, and Christina operates on him. However, the shooter finds them and threatens Christina in order to make her stop operating. Owen realizes that he's in love with Christina and creates a distraction, which causes the shooter to leave. Meredith has a miscarriage while all of this is happening, and the shooter finally kills himself. Season 7 begins a few months after the hospital shooting. Christina is still very traumatized and quits her job because she doesn't love surgery anymore. Christina and Owen get married while Callie and Arizona break up after Arizona decides to go to Africa after receiving a grant. Callie sleeps with Mark and finds out that she is pregnant with his child just as Arizona comes back to confess her love for Callie. This is also the season that features a musical episode after Callie gets into a car accident and her and the baby's lives are put into danger. The season also focuses on Meredith and Derek beginning an Alzheimer's trial. Meredith believes that Adele may have Alzheimer's, and something that Richard denies. However, he eventually agrees to enroll her in the trial. Meredith makes a mistake that results in Adele not getting the drugs she needs. She decides to switch the drugs, putting her job at risk. Alex finds out and tells Hunt. This prompts Derek to leave Meredith with Zola, who is the baby that they are trying to adopt, as Derek doesn't know if he can be in a relationship with someone who can lie so easily. Mark and Lexi break up after Mark tells her about Callie's baby. At the end of the season, Christina finds out that she is pregnant and decides to have an abortion, which occurs during the first episode of season 8. Owen goes with her and supports her even though he wants to have children. This causes a lot of tension in their relationship, which leads to Owen cheating on Christina. Derek and Meredith try to save their marriage and end up adopting Zola. However, the fallout from Meredith's tampering of the Alzheimer's trial leads to Richard stepping down from the chief of surgery position, and Owen taking his place. Adele's Alzheimer's progresses and she is placed into a care facility. Teddy and her new husband Henry adjust to their lives as newlyweds. However, Henry falls ill with cancer after their first big fight, and Teddy is forced to leave his side in order to perform an imminent heart surgery. Christina is asked to perform surgery on Henry in order to save his life. Believing that it would be too much pressure for Christina if she knew who she was operating on, Teddy and Owen cover Henry's face before the surgery. Unfortunately, Henry dies in surgery. Owen decides to lie to Teddy and implies that Henry made it through so that Teddy can focus on her own surgery. She is devastated when she learns the truth and grows to hate Owen. He fires her in the season finale and she moves on to another hospital. At the end of the season, the residents receive their board results and offers from other hospitals. Meredith, Christina, Derek, Lexi, Arizona, and Mark board a small plane to fly to Boise, Idaho. The plane crashes mid-flight, severely injuring Derek's hand and Arizona's leg. Lexi is trapped underneath the plane. She and Mark confess their love for each other, and Derek dies Lexi dies moments later. Meredith arrives too late to say goodbye. It is also revealed that Mark has severe internal injuries. The remaining survivors are stuck, lost in the woods when the season ends. So, in the 9th season of Grey's Anatomy, the characters are dealing with the aftermath of the plane crash where they lost their colleagues, Mark Sloan and Lexi Gray. The characters are both physically and emotionally traumatized. Derek is unable to use his hands until Liz and Callie perform surgery, and Arizona loses her leg and becomes hostile towards Callie. The doctors sue the hospital for the crash since they put them on a risky flight to save money. Owen and Christina divorce in order to win the lawsuit since he was to blame for the flight change. Yet the hospital is in financial peril because the insurance company refuses to pay. The doctors and Catherine Avery of the Avery Foundation decide to buy the hospital. However, Jackson Avery, her son, must be part of the board. He changes the name of the hospital to Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital and begins a relationship with April. Callie finds out that Arizona has been cheating on her, and the season ends with the birth of Meredith's baby during a superstorm. Season 10 begins the day of the storm, with the doctors trying to save their own. Richard Weber survives and begins a relationship with Catherine Avery. Callie leaves Arizona and takes Sophia with her, although Arizona is allowed to see her. Eventually, they reconnect and seek a surrogate for their second child. Meredith juggles parenthood and a career, straining her relationship with Christina. Meanwhile, Derek receives a call from the president to join a program in D.C. April and Jackson elope during her wedding to Matthew, and they attempt to overcome their different views on faith. This season sees the departure of Christina from the show. She is nominated for the Harper Avery Award, but no doctor from the hospital will ever win due to the hospital's connection with the Averys. Thus, she leaves for a lecture in Switzerland and reconnects with Burke, the man who left her at the altar. He offers his job, and she takes it. Christina says goodbye to her colleagues and dances with Meredith one last time. Also, Dr. Maggie Pierce is revealed to be Meredith's half-sister because she doesn't have enough siblings already. In season 11, Maggie establishes a relationship with Meredith with the aid of Derek. However, it is also revealed that Richard Weber is Maggie's father. Kelly and Arizona divorce after Arizona spends too much time away with Nicole Herman for a fetal surgery fellowship. Herman wanted her because she needed someone to operate on her tumor. Instead, Derek's sister Amelia operates on it, leaving Dr. Herman blind. The religious differences between April and Jackson strain their relationship, especially when they find out that their child has osteogenesis imperfecta, which will kill him. April refuses to have an abortion and they lose the child, Samuel Norbert Avery, after inducing his birth. Derek is now working in Washington, D.C., and Meredith believes that her husband may be having an affair after a woman answers his phone. He reveals that there was an attraction with another woman, but comes back to Seattle to mend his relationship with Meredith. Derek returns to the hospital working under his sister, who is now falling in love with Owen. However, tragedy strikes when Derek is hit by a car and dies after being treated by incompetent surgeons. Meredith gives birth to their third child, a girl, and moves back to her old home. Dr. Richard Weber and Catherine get married in this season. In season 12, finally, Meredith is teaching interns and becomes a mentor figure to them and Callie's girlfriend Penny, who is one of the doctors that operated on Derek. Meredith finds it hard to be around her due to her role in Derek's death, and Arizona finds it hard to see her ex with someone else. Eventually, Meredith is able to teach Penny without blaming her for Derek's fate. The arrival of Dr. Nathan Riggs reveals that Owen had a sister, and he holds Riggs accountable for his sister's death. Once again, there is relationship drama. April is now working in Jordan, which further strains her marriage with Jackson, and Miranda's new job strains her marriage to Ben Warren. April and Jackson divorce, but she is pregnant and they agree on shared custody. This season sees the departure of Callie as she and Penny move to New York, but with shared custody of Sophia. Amelia and Owen get married and Meredith begins to date again, feeling romantic tension with Nathan, even though Maggie has feelings for him. Time! That was totally not 15 minutes.
That was... Here.
Anna?
I don't know if you can see that.
I think that looks like 21 minutes?
21 minutes.
Out of focus.
It is out of focus, but it is...
There we go.
21 minutes, 33 seconds. That's the thumbnail right there.
As you can see, a lot happens on Grey's Anatomy. It's mostly just doctors getting together. I don't know how there aren't more STIs going around that hospital because it seems like everyone's with everyone. Be sure to check out Grey's Anatomy. Its current season, season 13, is airing on ABC Thursdays at 8 o'clock, part of TGIT. It has been renewed for season 14 starting next fall. Thank you so much for watching this episode of TV Talk. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, WMTV 1693, and check out all of our social medias, website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know the drill. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.